Welcome back to episode 3 of Little Treasure Cove. Unfortunately, I have to start this episode with an apology. Last week, I somehow managed to include some DLC scaffolding from the adventure pack. I know, outrageous. But be still your beating heart, because I have since removed those items and replaced them with permitted ones. Panic over. It occurred to me that I didn't create a single ride skin in Little Rock Ridge, so this week I aim to rectify that. But before we get ahead of ourselves, it's time for this week's guest. Solaris is a name you might not necessarily recognise. Well, that's because he didn't always go by this name. Will I be telling you who he used to be? Certainly not. But let me tell you, they were quite the name within certain circles. But identity aside, Solaris has created some astonishing builds over the years. With a mix of incredible detailing and some of the best use of reshade I've ever seen, there's absolutely no doubt about this man's talent.
Hello everybody, Solaris here. First and foremost, I just want to take a time to actually thank Moomin for letting me be a part of this amazing series. I'm a huge fan of Little Rock Ridge that he's been doing on YouTube. Actually, that's completed now. And was very honored actually to get a message from him to build a part of this series. And you know, it's an incredible thing when someone who has as much talent as he does and as very as charismatic as he is reaches out for your input and your conceptualizations to come into their game. So yeah, was very honored and very surprised about it and everything, and was so excited until I got slammed with the whole no theme maker's toolkit, no DLC, and it was like, oh crap, like I don't know, it was kind of like everything just crashed out in front of me, and I'm like, you know, I get the concept behind it, and I think it would be a great exercise for me. So let's do it. You know, I really wasn't 100% sure of it, but definitely. So with Captain Pip's Tavern, which is basically just a Pipshot juice stand and Pipshot water stand, I just wanted to kind of encompass the whole pirate theme that he's wanting to do. And I took a lot of inspiration from Disney World's Pirates of the Caribbean ride, as well as that whole entire area in Disney World. You know, looking at some of the movies even from Pirates of the Caribbean as reference, such as, you know, the place of Tortuga and Port Royal and some of the places, I guess, that, you know, you visit in the movies, I wanted to kind of put into this build. And I think that with what I was able to do with the whole, you know, no TMTK or DLC, I think that it kind of came together better than I thought it would actually. Once you get started with the framework of the building, at least for me, it's pretty easy going. I mean, nothing's ever too difficult. I know at first when you look at, you know, a blank canvas, you know, your mind wonders, what should I do? Where should I go with it? And honestly, it just started with putting building pieces together. I really like the limestone pieces, the building pieces. I think that looks really great for more of an island kind of beach piratey theme, you know, for lack of a better word, piratey. And I think that it just really works together with the overall idea of that, having the roofs and everything. Once you get all that kind of put together, at least for me, like I said, it all comes together once the frame and the outer structure of the building is done, and then you more or less are just putting in details here and there. I didn't want to go over the top with a lot of, you know, oversized windows and oversized, you know, just beams and pillars and everything like that. I wanted to kind of keep it very quaint and simple, literally as if this is just you're walking to a shop in, you know, like I said, Disney World. I mean, it's really kind of the whole premise of this entire build, actually. And I wasn't 100% sure where it would fit into, you know, Moomin's Park, but I believe from what he showed me on the picture where it's at, I think that's going to be amazing. I mean, it's going to fit in just great, and I think I'm very excited for it, actually. I'm very proud of it. And yeah, so my suggestion for anyone wanting to build stuff is just, you know, build out and then go in. I know sometimes people want to build in and do all the details before you build the outer structure, and it's so much easier to have kind of like, at least, like I said, something to work off of. So start with the framework of your building, and everything else will just kind of come to you a little bit. I kind of want to go back and redo it with TMTK though, but yeah, that was definitely a struggle for me, just because of the amazing inventions and, you know, theme maker toolkit items that are out there available to all of us on the Steam Workshop. And, you know, when you're given, you know, a proposal to make a building, you know, automatically, at least for builders like myself, you know, we want to just put every small minute detail that we possibly can into it. And yeah, it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was very difficult, but I think it did turn out really great. It's almost exactly what I envisioned it for it to do or to be. And I just really want to say, congratulations, Moomin, on pursuing another series in the park, and I know it's going to bring you a lot of great success. And thank you for letting me be a part of this series. I mean, it's a really great honor, and I just can't say thank you enough. Bye, everyone, and I hope to see you soon. Solaris signing out.
I absolutely adore this Pipshot Tavern and love how it sits in the park. Today I'll be working in the same plot as Paulsley's former Hellion ring, so I've got big boots to fill. I decided to go with the Huss Topspin, or as it's known in Planet Coaster, Overpower. I started off by stealing, borrowing some of Zippaku's custom fencing. I added some fencing to the queue using rope fence. You don't have to tell me how imaginative I am. Next, I made a start on a water feature by digging a hole and filling it with water. I lined the pond with tropical rocks and shrubbery. I created a foundation for our feature using planks. Fun fact, for a water feature to work, the water has to start at a higher point and work its way down using something called gravity. To allow our H2O to get from A to B, I used scaffolding and planks. Don't worry, this scaffolding is not DLC. I used wooden pillars to support any pesky floating pieces. I spent way too long trying to get a convincing water effect, but unfortunately, as the in-game water possesses very little physics, there wasn't much I could do to have the water traversing the whole contraption. I settled on one at the start and one at the end. The rest will have to remain in our imaginations. You'll notice me raising up the water source to avoid any obvious clipping and then adjusting the scaffolding accordingly. In order to defy said gravity, water has to be pumped to the highest point, so I added some piping. I completed this area with some foliage and small props. Back in the queue, I added some stockade fencing to break up the cattle pen. With the fencing in place, I could then cover the path with some custom flooring in the form of wooden balcony pieces. Time for the ride skin itself. I decided to go with a rigging/cargo vibe, wrapping the main structure in more balcony pieces to create a wooden crate aesthetic. Skinning a ride is never easy in Planet Coaster, as most components don't respond as a surface, rendering the Align to Surface tool essentially useless. I used support footers to create a concrete foundation. For the ride supports, I wrapped them in wooden columns. After duplicating it to the other side, I added various wooden braces using pillars and rope. They don't call it a skin for no reason. I did my best to cover every non-moving part with wooden pieces, like columns and planks. To avoid repeating textures, a good trick is to flip and recolor pieces regularly. I used my newly made plank cladding as a lovely little fence to surround the ride. I altered the height of each plank to make it more interesting to look at. I sealed the gap with a bit more of that good old clutter. I created two sections of ground cover for the ride area, one out of decking and the other out of my new favourite balcony pieces. I separated the two using wooden columns. I felt like the rear of the ride needed further theming, so I added some barrels and shelving to push that pirate cargo vibe. These are crates, and I added them to the ride. I decided to call the topspin the boatswain. Also known as the bosun, they are responsible for the components of a ship's hull. I wrapped the ghastly queue posts in barrels and crates. It wouldn't be a proper topspin without some water jets, so I spaced them out accordingly and created a basic sequence. Considering we have water jets and a water feature, some sort of pumping facility is required. Thankfully, there's a convenient backstage area located just across the way. I built a water tank and then an access hatch into, I don't know, something technical, the pump probably. A teeny bit of clutter, and that's us done for the day. Little Treasure Cove now has a fancy new ride and a beautiful tavern courtesy of Solaris. Next week, Starport 55 will be resisting the temptation to put neon everywhere as he builds a large portion of Main Street. See you then.